Hello, just wanted to talk real quick about an Axios story, basically saying that Trump was looking to end anchor babies, birthright citizenship. So basically, if you move here, maybe you're not a citizen, maybe you have a green card, maybe your green card expires, but you're still on American soil, and you have a child, then that child no longer has citizenship. The way it's portrayed, in some news media circles is anchor babies, which is, someone walks across the border, has a kid, boom, that kid's a citizen, and the parent has a claim to stay in the United States. I just want to go over real quick a couple of things and show why this is a terrible idea. Trump says a lot of times when he talks about immigration, and then specifically in this story, he talks about how other countries have different laws, and he just wants to make America's immigration more like other countries. He says we have the stupidest immigration laws in the whole world. Yes, but the whole world, we have very different immigration laws in the whole world, but they also have no idea how to integrate populations. Look at Russia. Their demographic decline, paper tiger. China, if we held a little match to their economic system, the whole thing goes up in flames. If we really tried, China would be in a worse depression. Our Great Depression would look like child's play. Same thing, Germany, France, Sweden, declining populations. A lot of old people that have to be supported by not a lot of young people. And it's actually double bad because when they do try and let migrants in, they have very poor systems, very poor mechanisms of integration. The United States is the only one that seems to have been able to get integration right. Doesn't matter if you come from Sweden. Doesn't matter if you come from Germany or France or Uganda or South Korea or Japan or Mexico or Venezuela. You won't have to learn the language. You don't have to have money, but your kids will speak. Will be bilingual, and your grandkids will speak English. Probably just English. That's just the general pattern. This is a huge strength for America, and the biggest strength is that everyone's heard of divide and conquer. How if you go into a land, you want to divide up the population, and it's very easy. You make deals with some guys, you genocide off some other guys, and you generally scare and control the population. But you first have to break them apart. If everyone unites against you, you're done for. And America's been really good at uniting its minorities. And what you don't want is millions and millions of in this case Mexicans, but also other minority groups too. It's not just Mexicans, but predominantly Mexicans, you don't want those people to have no buy-in to the culture, to the government. If you say, hey, you will never be part of America, and your children and their grandchildren will never be part of America, you're going to have a situation where basically you have disaffected minorities. You have this really upset class of people who can be utilized when foreign governments come in and say, well, these people aren't happy with the current situation. We're gonna use them as kind of a fifth column within the United States, and you don't want that situation. And that is the situation in China with the Uyghurs. That is a situation in Russia with the Chechens. It's an autonomous kind of area. They're in the news a lot for like terrorist actions. But you also have to keep in mind that over the generations, as they develop different customs and different laws and ways of living than the Russian, than Russia proper, if there's no integration, they'll just keep on diverging. And when the Russian federal government tries to impose its laws on Chechnya, all of a sudden there's going to be a bite back, and that's what is called terrorism by the government. And it is terrorism. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying, this is what happens when you fail to integrate local populations. You get political violence, which is terrorism. I'm not trying to downplay it. I don't know. We really don't need or want that kind of those actions in the United States. And basically, some people will argue, hey, anchor babies or birthright citizenship was not the interpretation for 100 years, for the first 100 years of the Republic. He's like, yeah, but maybe not, right? There was this huge frontier. This is still debated by legal scholars, but there was this huge frontier where if you were a disaffected minority, you and your buddies could go and grab a patch of land and be very far from the government where it has basically no a hold over your day-to-day life, and kind of make your own laws and make your own customs and this, that, the other, and you could kind of grow into the American way of living without having so much pressure put on you. And you kind of had this safety release valve of the frontier for the first 100 years or so of American history. And you have to keep in mind that even the Japanese, when they were brutally persecuted, early in the 20th century, all the way World War II camps, even the Japanese knew their kids would be considered U.S. citizens, that their grandkids would be U.S. citizens. And it's went a long way to the Japanese making a conscious decision in World War II when we were putting them into camps, saying, hey, no, we are not going to fight back. We're not going to grab guns. We're not going to hide. We're not going to shoot the police. We're not going to shoot we're not going to be a fifth column of the United States. We're going to do what the government says, including leave our homes, leave our jobs, and go peacefully to the camps and do the work they want us to do. They went peacefully because they knew they had a future in the United States. You have to be very careful when you take this away, when you take out the thing called, that one mechanism, the best mechanism, the greatest mechanism of integration. You're going to end up with a situation where you have these disaffected minorities, like in Greece or like in Germany, where you have all of these people, this huge group of people who've lived there for perhaps hundreds of years, who have no way of officially buying into the culture. And that's a very dangerous situation because it's very easy to divide your society then. Because if there's some people who say, what, society's not treating me well, I only speak English, and they consider me Mexican. They're going to send me back, but I don't know anyone in Mexico. I don't know any Spanish. All of a sudden, it's very easy to radicalize these people. It's much easier to push them towards internal violence. And a lot of people say, hey, our current interpretation of birthright citizenship has only existed since the 60s. But to keep in mind, like during 1968, that 1 year alone, the FBI recorded 2,500 bombs exploding on American soil as a domestic terrorist campaign. Different ones, right? Because there's so many disaffected minorities, so many people who are unhappy with the way things were. They put in all of these, 1964 different laws. They passed some in 1964. They passed, some in 1968. Throughout the 1960s, they passed all of these different laws to better integrate minorities. So we wouldn't have these future groups of disaffected people working against our government within the United States, and it's worked beautifully. The United States has over time been the only country able to integrate people so effectively. You look at Germany, you look at Sweden, you look at Russia, China, all of these have dwindling demographics, and you have these kind of independent minority groups within them. And you have to have migration, because who's going to feed the old people when they're old and can't work? So you have to have immigration, but if you don't integrate the people fast enough, you're going to end up with basically just a bunch of problems, gang wars, people who commit crimes because they don't buy into the local cultures, like the German culture, the Swedish culture's way of, male-female relations, understanding male-female relations. Anyways, long story short, I supported Trump when I saw what he was doing with regulations, when I saw what he was doing with taxes, when I saw what he was doing exposing the media, exposing certain government organizations, certain corporate organizations too. Trump has done a lot of good things. This is a line in the sand for me and a lot of people I know. Just like the Second Amendment is a line in the sand for me and a lot of people I know. That I'm not saying ever fight back or anything. No. Violence is never, political violence especially, is never the answer. But if you have investments, if you actually have any large amounts of money in stocks or in cryptocurrencies or real estate or whatever, any assets, you need to start thinking of how you're going to liquidate those, and in cryptocurrencies, just walk across the board, and how you're going to get out of the United States. This is like, if this passes and is upheld by the courts, you just have to understand, like, hey, this is just the beginning. This is a fundamental way the United States has functioned for generations. If it's now being overturned, it might be making way for something else and something worse. I know a lot of people feel this way. This is kind of like this is the red line in the sand for so many people, and I hope we don't pass it. I hope Trump just understands. He backed down when he started fighting the NRA about bump stocks, about this, about that, about assault rifles. He said all these things and he backed up. I hope he does the same thing again. I hope he continues being the Trump he has been for 2 years minus 1 day. So I hope you have a great day. Bye.